Well, here's my last question before I let you go. And me and a close friend had a long conversation about this. You know, when you look at any neighborhood where there's a lot of crime, there's always this rule of, no snitching, no telling, no talking to police, no cooperation, and so forth. More often than not, though, is that when you look at things over time and the dust settles, usually the main guy usually ends up cooperating and telling on everyone else.
Yeah, because of the time they given.
Right.
That's his way out.
Exactly. So when you look at, this is not an actual law or this is something that just people made up and they run with it.
What's
right?
that?
No snitching, no cooperating.
Yeah.
But when you really think about this, is it really just designed where the head guy uses this make-believe concept in order to protect himself and ultimately uses that to sacrifice the people underneath him?
In a sense.
Do you see where I'm going with this? Yeah. Do you see where I'm going with this?
But they took the concept of snitching to a different level. Everything you do, standing next to a police car, you got to be snitching. Back in the day, snitching was seeing that paperwork. You can't just call the motherfucker snitch. Trust me, I know. You can't just say, oh, that motherfucker a rat. You don't have no papers. You don't have nothing to say that this motherfucker told on me. Today, the police use it because they know if they tell you, I'm finna give you finna do 17 to life, you ain't gonna get your accuser on the stand because they copping out and pleading and taking deals. Mm-hmm. That's how it's so easy to get you because you don't want to go all the way. Right. So, but, the name that they use, that's the motherfucker. He snitched on me. How he snitched on you? A snitch is normally have to sit in the stand and say, yeah, that's him.
Right.
That's him. A snitch, your name have to be on some type of document from the police that you can obtain from your lawyer if a motherfucker told on you. They done took snitching to a whole different level. And there's so many different levels you can be labeled as a snitch. You don't have to go on the stand and say, yeah, that's him right there.
Yeah.
Or sign your name on this paperwork. If you ever talk to a detective, you signing your name. If you ever talk to the detective, you sitting there drinking coffee and eating cookies. So the generation today believe everything that you do, you have to be a snitch or you have to this.
Right.
But you have to have paperwork or that dude have to actually go to court on you.
But like I said, it just seems like when you look at it at a high level, it almost seems like a way that that you use to sort of deceive everyone who ends up working for you, because all these, if you got a guy in the neighborhood who's like the kingpin, right, and he's supplying all the drugs, he's the one that's moving millions of dollars through him and so forth. He's keeping a lot of the money for himself. Yeah, everyone else gets their piece and so forth. All these dudes get caught up and they don't want to snitch on him. Even though they could probably just they didn't really even do much compared to what he's doing, but he's convinced all them not to cooperate in order to save him.
Well, the street code is loyalty.
All these guys underneath him don't cooperate. But when he gets caught, most times he cooperates and drags everyone down with him.
He the main one.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you're protecting someone who most times won't stand up and do the same for you.
Right. Your loyalty is in the wrong place.
So the whole thing of it, man, is just like, and I know people that stood by and they've done all this prison time. And they're so proud of themselves for not doing it. And I wonder also, how much of them, when people don't snitch, how much of that is integrity versus fear of, if I do and it's found out, that I'm just scared of the repercussions of people finding this out, as opposed to
15% of that is fear. The rest of it is, pretty much. I want to show the homies that I'm loyal, that I'm down with it. I'm 100, and there's a lot of men in prison because they took the fall for a certain individual.
And that's what I'm saying. And you're taking the fall for someone, and by doing that, you're ultimately choosing this man over your own family. And if you have children, you've now taken away their father.
But they understand that though, Vlad. The cold part about that is that every man that's from the hood, live in the hood, knows if he do this, he can't come back to the hood. He can't be a part of this, or that 15% chance of me getting killed.
Yeah,
if I did that.
And on top of it, when you really when you wrap it all up, when you go and you don't tell and you do your time, when you come out, there's rarely any sort of real reward.
Oh no, there ain't no rewards.
You see what I'm saying?
He's still doing his thing, and he gonna look out for you. The only reward to that is oh, that's a big homie. He's solid.
Right.
You don't get no.
There's no big pile of cash when you come out.
No.
Does your family get taken care of?
No.
Some, but it's not like the mafia that actually really does that.
No, there's some brothers out there that do take care of the family and that individual.
And let me tell you, man, every drug kingpin I've ever talked to has always been the same story.
It is.
They had a bunch of money, going in. They put, like Freeway Ricky, put a bunch of property in other people's names. When he got out, it was still in their names, and they're not trying to sign it over.
Right.
All the money he put aside. Well, these people had bills. They figured he's got life in prison. He's never getting out. They need it more than he does.
Right.
That money's gone. You know what I mean? And it's like there is no reward for this. And I just feel in a certain type of way, and they're going to say, oh, Vlad's advocating snitching. Well, I just want people to look at it realistically because it's your life. And I feel it's a mind fuck to a certain degree.
Well, it's a mind fuck because a lot of people don't understand it. A lot of people has fallen under the propaganda that they'll be told today that, snitching is this and snitching is that, which that's not what snitching is. You know what I'm saying? So you got cats that believe their loyalty will get them here, which it don't get us nothing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Doing time. You can't call me a snitch. How's this lady a snitch? And she told the police that she saw this young man kill her son.
Right.
They label her as a fucking snitch. How the fuck is she a snitch? So they going ass out backwards, and they actually believe in the bullshit that they've been taught and told.
Right. And it's all bullshit because once it gets to the court system, all of it gets thrown out the window. No, the judge don't care about it. The prosecutors don't care about it. And
long
if you
as
can't
they get you.
Yeah, and if you can't afford a great lawyer,
you're asked out anyway.
You're asked out. You're pleading to some shit that you may not have even done.
Right.
Just because you're too scared of the big number they're throwing at you if you blow trial.
There's a lot of us in prison behind that.
Yeah.
That whole concept. So
yeah. Yeah, man, and and it's sad. I remember BG Knockout even said that he realized at one point that while he was sitting in prison that he had to ask himself whether he loved his gang more than his own family,
right,
and more than his own children, because he's choosing the gang over his kids,
right.
The thing that I try to, the thing that bothered me about my own situation was like, I had to question like if I loved my kids and my family, because like, why would I leave them to come to a place like this, And that's the thing that I try to talk to my young homies who are still in there. It's like, you watching your kids just grow up without you, you know what I'm saying? And what if somebody did attack your daughter or some shit and you can't do nothing about it because you were so loyal to something else, you know what I mean? It's like, people got to snap out of it, man.
Here I am sitting in jail for this gang, and I'm not a father.
Right.
My kids are growing up by themselves. And, you could say, well, you know, my mom was my mom and my dad, but you know that's not true.
Right.
You know, like especially if you have a little boy, that boy needs a male role model in his life.
As a grown man, we make that choice. Once we get caught, we make that choice.
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, they ain't gonna let you go because they know. So if I choose not to tell on him, I know the consequences of that. I know I ain't finna see my family for 15 years. But to be a big homie and solid and all that, you shut the fuck up. To keep your name from being slung in the mud and shit, you shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much just a street code. That's the way the street is.
Yeah.
And you know, it's too many people in prison behind not saying this or saying that, and that cat ain't even taking care of your ass.
Right. And let me tell you something, right? If you feel that this, if you feel this concept is really rock solid and so forth, look at these multi-million-dollar and billion-dollar companies. When those guys get caught doing some shit,
Right.
they all cooperate.
Right.
There's no code
Right.
in these billion-dollar situations.
You see that with the Donald Trump shit.
Right. Everyone turns on each other. Everyone cooperates, whatever else.
Right.
So people making the real money, they go along with the legal means.
Right.
And these guys that are all broke are sitting there with these imaginary ideals that are getting them 15 years.
Right.
So just think about that as you go along and think about your morals and values and everything else like that. I'm not advocating for snitching and so forth. I think on certain levels it is point blank wrong. You know, I mean, if you're involved in a crime and you tell on someone to try to get less time by putting all of the blame on someone else, knowing that really you were largely responsible for it. Now that's where I feel it's morally wrong.
In other words,
but
if you act like Nino Brown, you're out of line.
Right.
Other than that,
right. But if you're just sitting there protecting someone because that's just the code, and I'm going to take all this time over some shit that I was barely involved in, you're ultimately.
Grandmama told us, "Shut the fuck up. Never say nothing." Boy, you better stop being a tattletale. Don't tell on your brothers. And we grew up with that type of shit.
You grew up with that, yeah. And you took it to the extreme, Mob James, man, always a pleasure.
All the time.
Make sure everyone watches the Gangster Chronicles.
Yes, sir.
One of my favorite podcasts.
We doing good.
Doing well. That's what it is. Until next time.
All right.
Peace.